1.
Indian relationship is shaped by historical ties and current complexities driven by geopolitical concerns, economic differences, and border disputes. Despite a rich cultural history, their delicate balance of cooperation and competition centers around persistent issues like the Aksai Chin and McMahon line disputes, heightened by the 1962 war.
The relationship between China and India. China and India have been involved with each other since the ancient times. However, when India gained their independence in 1947, they established a formal relationship with the Republic of China, which is ROC, and ended it quickly and acknowledged the PRC or People Republic of China as the legal government of China, and when the PRC was established in 1949. And on 1 April 1950, both of them established a formal diplomatic relations between China and India. In 1954, a Sino-Indian agreement was made and pointed out a stable relationship between both of the countries, which is China and India. Unfortunately, when India provided asylum to Dalai Lama from Tibet in 1959, the momentum of both countries changed and became strained. In 1962, the Sino-Indian War happened as a result of the border dispute regarding Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh, and as a result, India was defeated in the war. Even after the war ended, there are so many skirmishes and military conflicts ongoing and still happening between China and India, and make the relationship between both of the countries strained. Then, the 21st century showed a lot of cooperations between both China and India, and also competition still happen. For example, China and India have a joint military exercise called Exercise Hand in Hand, and on the other hand, there is still ongoing border disputes and military conflicts happens. What is the Sino-Indian border dispute about? So, the Sino-Indian border dispute is an ongoing territorial dispute where the first area was Aksai Chin, which is part of China, but was claimed by India. And secondly is Arunachal Pradesh, which administered by India, but China claimed as part of Tibet. So, the border issue actually started in the colonial era, where in 1914 Simla Convention was signed by British India and also Tibet, drawing the McMahon line to define the boundaries between both of the countries. However, it was rejected by China since they claimed that Tibet is part of theirs and argued the validity of the agreements. And in 1950, the Chinese People Liberation Army, which is PLA, invaded Tibet and placed a border post in Aksai Chin. And when during 1954, both countries agreed to abide by the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence to improve their relationships. But the relationship went downhill when India provided asylum to Dalai Lama in 1959, and it strained the Sino-Indian relations. The relationship between both of countries worsened when in 1961 a forward policy was established by India for the hope China troops will fall back and not enter part of Indian territories. And Sino-Indian War happened in 1962, where in October 1962 the Takla Range confrontation happened, where both China and India opened fire. While in November 18, China sent military forces to acquire the town of Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh. The war 1962 ended with China achieving their objective and India lost their territories. And military standoff and conflict still happened after the war. For example, in 2022, there was a clash in the Yangtze and both of the country's soldiers were injured.
Within the complex tapestry of international relations, the effective handling of territorial disputes demands nuanced diplomacy and sophisticated foreign policy strategies. This part of the presentation will delve into the intricate landscapes of China foreign policy concerning the regulations of its border dispute with India, shedding light on the multifaceted approach that Beijing employs to address this issue. One of the key elements of China's foreign policy regarding the border dispute is its tangible and long-term common interests shared with India. Both China and India recognize that their long-term interests are better served through cooperation rather than confrontation. While the border issue still remain sensitive, pragmatic considerations often lead both nations to give priority to sectors that will benefit them, including trade, investments, and technical cooperation. Recognizing the mutual benefits of cooperation, China and India are motivated to address the border dispute by putting an emphasis on workable solutions, as both nations understand the potential gains from these cooperations. Other than that, high-level talks have been facilitated through informal summits between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A significant instance of China's diplomatic outreach is the 2018 Wuhan Summit. During the summit, the two nations established a cooperative partnership with the intentions of fostering mutual respect and sensitivity for each other's concerns and aspirations. These diplomatic efforts demonstrate a sincere desire to discuss potential solutions through dialogues and as opposed to depending only on military posture. Furthermore, both India and China have established bilateral agreements to address their border disputes. They signed the agreements on the political parameters and guiding principle for the settlements of the India-China boundary question, which takes historical evidence, mutual security, and other factors into account. Bilateral accords provide a platform for ongoing discussions and negotiation between these two nations, and by these agreements, China and India have emphasized the value of peaceful cohabitations and shown that they are committed to use diplomatic channels to resolve these issues. Numerous strategic advantages, especially for China, as the policymaker could be unlocked by this peaceful resolution. For instance, a fortified southwestern border will enable China to redirect its diplomatic efforts to resolve the maritime dispute with Japan and other Southeast Asian countries. In addition, these peaceful settlements would help mold the public opinion on China, presenting the nation and its leader in a positive light, given its vast network of 29 neighboring countries. And in the long run, it is expected that this concentrated effort to resolve border dispute will lead to significant improvement in bilateral ties and open a new door for Beijing and New Delhi to form a strategic alliance that will promote extensive collaboration in regional and international affairs.
Assalamualaikum, my name is ATHIRAH and today I will be talking about the theory of rational choice in times of crisis and conflict in relating to the Sino-Indian border dispute. So what is exactly the theory of rational choice in times of crisis and conflict? So basically, this theory is a fundamental framework that seeks to understand human decision-making during challenging and turbulent circumstances. My first point will be about the application of the rational choice theory. So firstly, let's explore on how this theory manifests the strategies employed by both nations along the disputed border. So, military actions such as troop deployments, infrastructure development, and strategic positioning are not arbitrary but driven by a rational assessment of perceived advantages and risks. So this rational decision-making is evident in periodic escalations of tensions, like the dot-com standoff in 2017, where each side carefully weighed potentials of gains and losses. In addition to that, diplomatic maneuvers also play a crucial role in navigating this conflict. So high-level negotiations, regular conversations, and confidence-building initiatives are tools employed by both China and India to further their goals without resulting in a full-scale war. So, the rational choice theory emphasizes that diplomatic efforts are means to achieve the best possible results while preventing the potentially disastrous consequences of military conflicts. So my next point will be about rationality in domestic politics and foreign policy choices. Firstly, let's explore the domestic politics of each involved country. So leaders in both China and India must navigate internal landscapes, public opinion, and nationalistic sentiments. So this is why the rational choice theory comes in place. So rational choices are made to bolster domestic legitimacy while weighing the potential benefits of a strong stance against the risk of escalation. Moreover, when we take a look at China's foreign policy choices in the Sino-Indian border dispute, we see a deliberate and calculated effort to assert its national interests. So, there are basically three main goals in China foreign policy, which are security, geopolitical influence, and territorial integrity. So, these main goals, they guide China's foreign policy responses. Lastly, I'll be talking about the impact of information asymmetry and connective constraints in the Sino-Indian border dispute. So decision makers from both sides, they must base their choices on incomplete information. So this leads to potential errors in judgment and unexpected repercussions that shape the course of the dispute in the first place. In conclusion, the theory of rational choice provides a comprehensive framework and it helps us understand the complexity of the Sino-Indian border. So it reveals that in this theory, the decision made by both nations and their leaders are not arbitrary but grounded in a rational pursuit of national interests. So by applying this theory, we gain insights into military strategies, diplomatic maneuvers, domestic politics, and also foreign policy choices.
The Sino-Indian border dispute in ASEAN has been a long-standing and complex issue that has strained relations between the two Asian nations. A comprehensive and a long-term solution is going to require a combination of diplomatic, political, and strategic measures, which will be an achievable way for China to contribute to the resolution of the Sino-Indian borders issue. Confidence-building measures CBM play a crucial role in reducing tensions and creating an environment conducive to resolving the Sino-Indian border dispute in ASEAN. For example, after the post-war borderline negotiation, the Indian and Chinese governments sought CBM to maintain their bilateral relations. As a result, both countries agreed that the dispute over borders would not have any effect on their relationship. In 1996, India and China agreed to a ban on military force in the LAC region to maintain border stability. In addition, by focusing on cooperative economy and strengthening trade connection, China and India can create a mutually beneficial environment that encourages collaboration and promotes regional stability. For instance, the economic liberalization that the two countries were establishing opened an economic relationship that kept growing until now. From 1999 and 2004, the two countries' trade worth climbed from 1 million to 30 million by prioritizing economic cooperation. China and India can create a positive cycle where shared economic interests contribute to stability. Lastly, the Sino-Indian borders conflict should be resolved under international law and norms. This method ensures that every agreement complies to global expectations and standards. Both China and India are members of the United Nations, and their action in the borders dispute are expected to adhere to the principles outlined in the UN Charter. This includes the prohibition of the use of force to settle international disputes and the encouragement of peaceful resolution through negotiation and other peaceful means. International mediation and arbitration may also be employed to represent a willingness to resolve an issue through international mediation or arbitration if necessary. Accepting the engagement of respected international bodies as a third party can create an unbiased and fair resolution procedure. For example, the agreement on the establishment of a line of actual control (LAC), and this commitment strengthens the credibility of the settlement process and benefits to the region's overall stability. In this case, we can see that India and China are two big countries that share a border and have a dynamic relationship. On the other hand, both countries still have an unresolved border issue in the ASEAN region. Because of this economic and political interdependence, the two countries are taking risks in their strategy, which does not deliver optimal benefits for their national interests. However, when it comes to the ASEAN border issue, China plans to carry out the limited control policy, and India's plan with the basis claim to be the greatest option that can bring the best benefit for both parties. Furthermore, the resolution of the Sino-India borders dispute is more than just bilateral relationship. It is a strategic imperative for regional stability, providing the foundation for more peaceful and collaborative future in ASEAN. By building a cooperative environment with India, China not only responds to urgent concern but also helps to the larger vision of a peaceful and integrated ASEAN.
The Sino-Indian relationship is a complex interplay of historical legacies, border dispute, economic interactions, and geopolitical considerations. The 1962 war remains a significant factor, influencing perception and shaping the ongoing dynamics between the two nations. Despite challenges, diplomatic engagement and effort to find common ground persist, highlighting the shared recognition and the importance of stable relations. The multifaceted nature of the issues calls for a nuanced approach, emphasizing the need for continued dialogue.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Miss Minutes, your moderator for today. Tonight's debate is on the Sino-Indian border dispute. Representing the Indian perspective, we have Ms. NISA, and advocating for the Chinese perspective, we have Ms. ATHIRAH. Each debater will have 1 minute for their opening statement. Ms. NISA, you may begin.
The Sino-Indian border dispute is a long-lasting issue that demands resolution. India has consistently emphasized on the need for peaceful negotiations based on mutual respect for territorial integrity. Meanwhile, China's aggressive move in the region has raised concerns, threatening stability in this region.
Thank you, Ms. NISA. Ms. ATHIRAH, your opening statement.
China maintains that the border dispute should be settled through diplomatic means, respecting historical agreements, and the recent action were necessary to safeguard our territory and to ensure regional stability. And it's very crucial for both nations to have to engage in dialogue and to find solutions that respect each other's concerns.
Thank you both. We'll move on to the questioning round. Question for Ms. NISA and Ms. ATHIRAH. What specific actions can India take to ease tensions and foster peaceful dialogue?
India remains committed to diplomatic channels. Confidence-building measures and increased dialogues can pave the way for peaceful resolutions. And most importantly, both nations have to prioritize on finding common ground to ensure stability in this region.
While diplomatic efforts are essential, it's crucial to acknowledge historical agreement and to avoid unilateral action that escalates tension. A commitment to peaceful negotiation without external interference will contribute to a lasting resolution.
Thank you both for your insights. In the closing statements, please summarize your key points.
In conclusion, India advocates for peaceful resolution based on dialogues and mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity. We believe that through diplomatic efforts, we can create a stable environment that can benefit both nations.
China emphasized the importance of respecting historical agreement and finding common ground through bilateral negotiation. We are committed to regional stability and believe that diplomatic channels are the way forward.
Thank you both for your perspectives on this complex issue. This concludes our debate on the Sino-Indian border dispute. Hi, I'm Miss Minutes, and I'll be the moderator for today's debate. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we have 3 experts with us to debate the causes of the Sino-Indian border dispute. Representing different perspectives, we have Ms. K, who believes historical factors are the root cause, Ms. Ayu, who argues for territorial claims as the primary issue, and Ms. Mar, who contends that geopolitical considerations play a significant role. Each speaker will have 1 minute for their opening statements.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. The Sino-Indian dispute traces its roots back to historical claims, such as McMahon Line and Aksai Chin. China asserts that these boundaries were imposed during a colonial era and need a revision for a fair resolution.
Thank you, my fellow debater. So, while history may be a factor, the core issue lies in territorial claims. So both nations, which are China and India, they want to control over important regions.
So, thank you, Ms. Ayu. I believe that territorial claims are certainly crucial, but we cannot ignore the geopolitical dimension as both China and India has rise as global powers that struggle for influence in the regions. The border disputes become a manifestation of these broader geopolitical competitions.
Thank you. Now each speaker will have 2 minutes for a more in-depth argument.
The historical aspect is paramount. The British drawn borders during the colonial era were arbitrary, and have led to persistent disagreements. Resolving the dispute requires acknowledging and rectifying this historical injustice.
So while history may be relevant, the core issue is actually the tangible territory in contention. So a resolution must focus clearly on defining the borders to prevent future conflicts. So territorial integrity is very fundamental for peace.
As I said earlier, geopolitical cannot be overlooked. The border disputes is intertwined with regional power dynamics. India alliance with the US and China expanding influence create a complex backdrop where the border issue becomes a tool for strategic advantage.
Thank you all for your insights. In the interest of time, we'll move to closing statements. Each speaker has 1 minute.
Resolving the Sino-Indian dispute requires acknowledging historical realities and renegotiating borders based on fairness and justice.
So territorial clarity is essential for peace. So a pragmatic approach to delineate the borders will pave the way for stability in the region.
So, what I believe is geopolitical considerations are inseparable. To resolve the disputes, both nations must address not only territorial concerns, but also navigate the broader context of regional power dynamics.
Thank you to our speakers. This debate highlights the multifaceted nature of the Sino-Indian border dispute, where history, territory, and geopolitics intertwine.